is Vasmusi. Vasmusi translates to builder of families. So I would love to say there's going to be some new additions, but nothing yet. You never trust an elephant under 20, and well, he's not trustable yet. He's old enough to be interested, but too young to know better. So Swazi, our queen elephant, hasn't necessarily accepted him yet. We're working on all of that. But he's getting along with most of the other elephants. He was actually born here. Vasmusi was born here. We moved him off to Fresno. He stayed in Fresno for several years. And then we just brought him back recently. Builder of families always being one of those picture ideas. Not necessarily a plan yet, but the big plan for Vasmusi right now was to be a role model for his little brother Zuli. Poor little Zuli's never seen another boy in his life, you know, so gotta raise him right, toughen him up. I wouldn't call it a rotation necessarily, but we are always moving animals around. We have what's called the species survival plan. And this database, we have a database with every animal connected to the Association for Zoos and Aquariums. So if there's a male in Texas or a female in Nebraska, we need to move around for genetics, we can. If we're breeding and genetics always come into play, all recommendations happen with the SSP, or the species survival. A perfect example would be up here. We are behind the scenes now. So that was the African loop. I recommend that because of the okapi and the warthogs and the secretary bird. There's some fun things down there. But when you're standing down there, looking at the warthogs, if you look through the trees, you can't see these guys back here. In fact, we might not even see them right now. I'm setting you up, they're not even here. Anybody see any gorillas? I'm looking for a couple of gorillas. If you don't see them, you're not crazy. I don't see them either. This is our bachelor pad, though. So when we're talking about that species survival plan, right? In the park, we have a troop of gorillas. Winston, he's 52 years old. That's an old man for gorillas. All those ladies are his. One of the bachelors over here is his also. That's his son, Monroe. Monroe lives over here. Monroe was over there not too long ago, but as Monroe and Frank, they got a little older, they start to develop the silver hairs. That's when, or silverback gorillas. When they develop the silver hairs, that's when the ladies start to show interest. Well, like I said, oh, you're clear. There we go.
Good cartel.
And I don't see him, Matt, so as soon as these guys are done, we can move on. Oh, where do you see him?
The rock closest to us. On the other
Oh
side.
my goodness.
Chewing on our
I had to come around. I didn't even see him from where I was. I see his back shoulders. Here, if we pull forward a little bit more, you might see him. I see his shoulder. You saw him eating on that branch right there.
Yep.
Sitting on a rock. The closest rock to us on the right. It's got the big, looks like a termite mound, a little tower coming out of that rock. And then if you look on the other side of the rock, I see the back of his head and the back of his shoulder. And then that's going to be Monroe. It's not quite as silvery as Frank is. Thanks, Matt. That's a good spotting. I did not see him. So Monroe, that was Monroe. Monroe is Winston's son. So as those silver hairs start to develop and the ladies start to show interest, Winston gets very protective and territorial. And in the wild, he would have just kicked Frank and Monroe out of the tree. Alrighty, head off into the Congo. Go find some ladies of your own. Good luck, son. Well, here we don't quite have that space, you know, so we have to simulate nature the best we can. We saw the silver hairs, we saw the ladies' interest, we saw the territorial displays. We had a bachelor pad ready to go. We moved Frank. Frank was first, he's 14, he's got the silver hairs. Monroe, the hairs are developing, he's right behind Frank. We might as well move them at the same time. Now Frank's not alone. And there they sit in the bachelor pad. We were talking about the species survival plan.
Yeah,
so now if there is a zoo in Nebraska or Texas or Florida, somewhere out there that needs a couple of bachelors, well, I have two. So the species survival plan, we check the database to make sure that no one's related. We know everybody's sister, brother, cousin, mom, dad. We know everybody's relation. As long as no one's related, the AZA, or the Association for Zoos and Aquariums, they work out the logistics of moving the animals around. So it's not that we rotate them, but we are always moving them. We just recently moved a southern white rhino to Sacramento. Not too long ago, we moved a black rhino to Hawaii. Here, I'm going to pause for a second because there is a giant snake on the ground. Look at that thing. Yeah, we're going to be really quiet. We can't stop. This is a private meet and greet tour that we can also do. And I caught that. Massive, huh? So we do have a lot of the behind the scenes. This strip of grass right here is actually for the cheetah run. So on Saturday mornings we do a big behind the scenes cheetah run where you can go take a truck out, they park you by the palm trees, and then the cheetah runs back and forth. But when we're not doing the cheetah run, you can also do these discovery tours and meet and greet tours where you can meet some of the animals. I never know what I'm going to see. Sometimes it's a warthog. I've seen the cheetah. We got a porcupine named Quilma. Quilma comes out with her quills. Now, when I talk about the species survival plan, right? As a breeding center, well, we're not necessarily a breeding center anymore, but when we opened, the idea was breeding center. Like I said, we don't want to take animals from the wild. We'd rather breed them here if we can. We are still doing a lot of breeding, but the idea of breeding center is kind of passed on. We're not really doing that as much anymore. But the idea of reintroducing animals back into the wild is something that we love the idea of. And if we can, we will. Every animal has its own situation though. So when I talk about a species survival plan, we are now passing the Rhino Rescue Center. This yard right here, I like to call the enrichment yard. We always debate, is it the backyard or the front yard? I don't know. If you come in this way, it looks like the front yard. But the tram is not allowed to go to the right and go see the other side. Matt's got the big tires on this truck, so we're actually going to pull around and go see what I call the front side. I call it the front side because it's got the sign for the Nikita Khan Rhino Rescue Center. That looks like the backyard to me. But if you can't get to the other side, you wouldn't know. That's the front yard, right? It's a fun debate around the park. Tram drivers, that's the front yard. Caravan drivers, this is the front yard. You won't even know what the front looks like. The rivalries. There's no rivalry. We're all on the same team. We all love each other. So here on the back side, we are looking for 10 southern white rhinos, including one of my favorites, our little nugget, Neville. Neville just turned 1 year old back in August. We have a 1-year-old rhino. Now, I can't promise you'll see him. In fact, I haven't seen any rhinos yet. Oh, there's one. Right there in front of you. Check that out.
Oh, wow.
Let's see. I can't actually tell you who that is, to be honest, though. That is not Neville. I'll know Neville when I see him. Yeah, we're going to pull up a little further. Steve, go ahead and hold on tight. Snap off all the photos you want. Just want to make sure we get you a better view. I got another group over here. Here, we're going to let Matt pull over and get out of the way of this truck behind us. And we'll let everybody get some good photos of this group of rhinos right over here. Hold on tight. It might get a little bumpy. Perfect. Here, in fact, I'm going to step to the back. If you all want to stand up, move around the truck, take a whole bunch of photos. I'm actually just going to sit in the back and be quiet for a moment. Let you guys all absorb the southern white rhino, and then I'll tell you more about the Rhino Rescue Center. If you get a picture of a rhino butt, here you're talking about the rhino butts. You want to get a good, if you get a mom and a baby next to each other, you do it in black and white, you frame it, you put it behind the toilet in the bathroom. Now it's art.
Right.
You want to go look over there, actually?
You are more than welcome. Please move around. I love when everybody does a little ring around the rosy and a good carousel. Make sure all the little ones get a chance to get up in the front. In fact, if you want to put your knees up on the bench, you're welcome to put your knees up on the bench.
Angelina, she said you can put your knees on the bench. Go ahead. No.
Go ahead.
You're welcome. Climb on up there.
You want to go ahead.
So these rhinos that we're looking at here, I said they are the southern white rhino. There's actually 5 different types of rhinos that we can talk about. The southern white rhinos, the ones that we're looking at, they are actually going to help us to save the northern white rhino. Now, I do love to prove science isn't always hard. Are you ready? Southern white rhinos. They come from South Africa. That means northern white rhinos must come from North Africa. See, science isn't so hard. We try to name things simple if we can. Now, Southern Africa and Northern Africa. Please remember, Africa is a continent. Not a country, but a continent. Filled with lots of countries, lots of ecosystems, and lots of different challenges depending on where you are. Southern Africa had better resources and more ability to jump into conservation when the southern white rhino hit numbers of less than 1,000. When there were less than 1,000 southern white rhinos, South Africa banded together and they all helped each other, and southern white rhinos went to different zoos and we all did different things to try to bring those numbers up. Last I heard, the numbers are up to 16,000. There are roughly 16,000 southern white rhinos in Africa. Northern white rhinos from North Africa, well, they didn't have the same abilities. They had more problems with civil war, with drought, with I need everybody to check their ringtones real quick, though. When we get into the savannah, we want to make sure that we're not scaring any animals or anything that might make a noise. So Northern Africa, having different abilities and different resources, they weren't able to jump into conservation, and because of that, the Northern rhino, they were not able to be as protected as well. So now, unfortunately, there are only 2. Not 2,000, just there's a mother and a daughter, and they are the last 2 northern white rhinos left in existence. They're not here, they're in Africa. They live in Africa, they live in Kenya. They live on a preserve where they are protected by armed guards 24/7 because they are the last 2 representatives of their species. Now they're not dead yet, but when they go, their species goes. So what we actually call this is functionally extinct. Not gone yet, but you will be. So they will be extinct. Functionally, they already are. There's not a male. There's no male in existence. So without a male, the species cannot come back on its own. That's the functionally extinct part. Well, we have a rhino rescue center. Science is pretty amazing these days. We can do a lot of things. We actually have what is called the frozen zoo. Our frozen zoo, we have genetic material saved from about 1,200 different animals, including northern white rhinos.
Oh, wow.
Now, the plan has never been done with rhinos. It's been done with the Przewalski horse. It's been done with other animals that we can talk about. Back in the 80s, there was a sheep named Dolly. They called him a sheep. Some of you may remember this sheep. Now, we've come a long way in technology and research since then. With our frozen zoo, the big plan and hope and dream. Hey, if you want to get going, there's a truck coming behind you. I can keep talking science. It's okay. So, like I said, we've come a long way in science, right? So, at the frozen zoo, when I say genetic material frozen and safe, I'm using a loose word because it's different material for different animals. Sometimes it's blood, sometimes it's semen, sometimes it's eggs, sometimes it can just be skin cells. You guys see the smallest one? There he is. That's little baby Neville. This is the smallest one in that 3-pack is Neville. Neville's showing off. See, always learning. That's a big, that's a research group right there. Always learning. Frozen zoo. So sometimes it's just skin samples, to be honest. For example, northern white rhino. At our frozen zoo, we have skin samples. Now, what we would like to do is reprogram the skin cells into stem cells. When we reprogram those skin cells into stem cells using the stem cell technology, you can now create pretty much anything. We can now create an embryo. That embryo is going to be an exact copy, an exact duplicate of the rhino that those cells came from. We are cloning the northern white rhino. Right? So once you create that embryo is going to need a surrogate mother. We're going to need a mom to carry said baby. Now, the 2 northern white rhinos that are alive today, they are not healthy enough, and they're not viable for carrying a baby. They can't carry their baby. So for a surrogacy, what we're actually going to use is a southern white rhino. They're both white rhinos, northern and southern. They are genetically different. Coming from different sides of the continent over thousands of years, they have grown genetically different. Side by side, visually, they look a lot alike. You're going to have a hard time telling you which one's which. Little difference concave in the face, but physically they look a lot alike. Genetically, they are different though, but they are closely related enough that we are positive we can use a southern white rhino as a surrogate mother for a northern one. When she delivers the baby, she's delivering a northern, even though she's a southern. None of her genes are going to be mixed in with this baby. The baby we gave her is the baby she's going to deliver. And once we bring back a northern white rhino, from there, we don't want to keep cloning rhinos. It's not about cloning. We don't want to, attack the clones, right? We don't want a bunch of the same rhinos. What we want to do is be able to create a breeding population, and then we can bring them back the old-fashioned way.
No, I'm fine. I don't want to stand up.
Deer? Yeah. The locals, the mule deer. When we built this place, we put up the fences. All of the deer, anybody that was in, they got to stay. So we've had many generations of mule deer living here. And don't be afraid. You see something off to the side, I am not that impressed with my spiel. It's not important. It happens all the time. We're at the Rhino Rescue Center. Sometimes those deer are in that yard, right? The deer are in the yard eating from the same trough as the rhinos. And people are like, oh my God, the deer. And I'm like, they don't care. The rhino and the deer, they share. Sharing is caring.
I feel like I'm going to Jurassic Park.
Well, Rhino Rescue Center, that's some fun things here in San Diego that we're doing to help rhinos around the world. On the other side of that gate, I know we're still in San Diego, but I need your help. We are actually in South Africa. Right? Don't tell the animals in there it's really San Diego. It's going to spoil the whole illusion. See, the animals in South Africa here are actually convinced they're wild. Right? They're not domesticated, but they're wild. Does anybody have any pets at home? Yeah? What kind of pets do you have? Cats? Dogs?
Bearded dragon.
What's that?
Said bearded dragons and
You're clear.
lizards and stuff.
Oh, bearded dragon. Almost thought you said a bear for a second. I was like, what?
I want one.
That's not a good pet. Bearded dragon, though. Bearded dragons are scary. Now, your pet's at home, right? Domesticated animals. They say my Chihuahua came from a wolf. The dire wolf was how my Chihuahua was a wolf one day. That shivery little yapper, never a wolf. But anyway, my Chihuahua, I got to take care of this dog. How do you take care of your dog, your cat, your bearded dragon? What do you have to do at home to take care of your pet? You got to feed them. You got to make sure they got food. What else? Food, water, and a place to sleep. Food, water, shelter. And every animal needs a certain amount of space, right? Bearded dragons need a little space. My Labrador needs more space than the Chihuahua. Try to tell the Chihuahua that, though.
Needs light.
At home, you give all of these animals their food, their water, their shelter, their space. Now here, these animals here, they need the same thing. They need food, water, shelter, and space. But the difference is the giraffe here don't necessarily know the food's coming from us. We don't feed them in the same place at the same time and the same thing. We're trying to make them look for their food. We're trying to make them go to their water source. It's a constant water source. Just like in the wild, you find a water source, you go to that water source. You go find that tree. If you look at the trees, see all the trees have a flat line on the bottom? That bottom line, we didn't do that. The giraffe did that. Here, look all around. All of these trees have a flat bottom.
They don't have landscape.
Yeah, you know exactly how tall Gowan is. I'll show you. You'll meet Gowan and you'll be like, yep, he did that. All of the animals here, they have to fend for themselves. But it is an illusion. We're definitely taking care of them. They have better health care than you. They're my co-workers. They have better health care than me.
But they don't have no predators or nothing like that, right?
Exactly. They don't have any predators out here, but that's another part of the illusion. You feel the breeze?
What's that an illusion?
On the other side of that breeze, right on the other side of that hill, that's where the lions live. So every single animal here can smell the lions. They think the lions live here. Shh, don't tell them. Yeah, see now because they believe the lion lives here, check out all of these eland here. All of these antelope, these are called Patterson's eland. See how they're all hanging out together? But they're not necessarily staring at each other, right? They're all kind of looking in different directions, moving in different directions, but still working together in a group. We call this an alert circle. Behind the eland, you have the gemsbok.
Yeah, it is nice out here.
Those oryx. They're doing the same thing. They're hanging out together, but instead of making eye contact and talking about the weather, they're looking out in different directions. It's more about, I got your back. You got my back? Anybody seen a lion yet? No? Good job. Keep doing it. They think they're doing a good job. Good job, boys. Now, we have the eland, the giant ones with the twisty horns. Over here you have the gemsbok. It's a type of oryx. They have those black lines with those beautiful white faces and those black lines connected to those giant horns. Now this oryx called the gemsbok, if you look on the other side of the fence,
Right now,
there's a white one that looks very similar. That one's called the scimitar horned oryx. And then there's some cattle in there too, the Ankoli cattle. And then if I just finish the circle, come around over to the passenger side, these ones right here are called the lowland Nyala. Two male Nyalas. And then there's actually another one down there, the sable antelope, all the way down at the bottom, that dark brown sable antelope. Now there's no pop quiz. In fact, check this out. If you took a bunch of photos and you're trying to remember later, he said this one was called a, watch this, antelope,
what's the quality?
antelope. Oh wait, that's
Yeah, San Diego Zoo.
antelope. There are 72 different type of antelope in Africa. Now it depends on the ecosystem you're in. If you're in a river-based ecosystem, maybe they'll look like the Nyala here, where they have these big shaggy coats, releasing some oil that helps them to stay buoyant. The eland over here, the eland come from dry, arid parts of Africa. So they have these cool structures. If you look at their neck, look at the bottom of their neck.
That was your favorite one, huh?
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
They call that a dewlap. Yeah, or almost, but no. That is called a dewlap. Now the dewlap works like a radiator in your car. The blood vessels pumping blood through that thin patch of skin. The breeze comes by and cools off that blood, and then the blood enters the stream in the body, cooling down the core of the animal. So where they live in the hot deserts, that dewlap helps to keep their
How
core.
close this one is. It's fishy.
The gemsbok up there, they got those beautiful horns with those black lines coming through their eyes. This structure, we call this a threat mask. A threat mask. Animals don't see color the same way that you and I do. I look out, I see a rainbow. I'm like, beautiful, look at all those colors. But if I took out one of those colors, you're gonna lose the rainbow, right? I take 3 primary colors and I make a rainbow out of those 3 colors. If I remove, say, red, I eliminate red. Well, you just lost orange. You just lost purple. You can't make the rainbow anymore because you eliminated one of the most important colors. These animals out here, if they can't see red, they're losing some of that color. They're losing some of that rainbow. Detail does not look the same to them. They worry more about contrast, dark up against light. They worry more about shape and movement. They see something moving, they know it's alive. They don't care about the color as much. So if you can't see color the same way that you and I can, take a good look at that gemsbok right there. And look at that black line that goes right through that black eye connected to that black horn on that white background. If you are a predator animal, you might actually look at those black lines, not seeing the eyeball, thinking, oh my gosh, that's giant horns. Yeah, that is 2 continuous big horns coming up right through the center of that gemsbok's face. The lion might miss the black eye in
Okay, we're moving. We're keeping it moving.
But here, check out their ears. Look at their ears. See how they have a black spot with a white ring around it in their ears? Don't those kind of look like big giant eyes? Yeah, big giant eyes looking back at you. Now, if your eyes are big and over here and you got these 2 giant horns coming in front of you, we call that a threat mask. That's so threatening that a lion might not want to go after the oryx. The lion might choose something easier to attack because that guy looks so threatening. Look how big those horns are. Yeah, that's threatening. Now, truth is, they would probably rather run than fight. When I say things like fight or flight, most of these animals out here are going to be flight animals. Something comes up, they flee. They run away. Ah, it's a lion, run away, run away. But if they could freeze for a moment,
Thank you,
take
brother.
those ears, push them forward. Not only does it make them look threatening, there's actually one more step to this optical illusion that blows my mind. Those ears facing forward, looking like eyes facing forward. Has anybody ever heard the term eyes in the front, you can hunt? Eyes on the side, you must hide. Something we used to throw around at the outdoor science schools a lot. Eyes on the side, you like to hide. Eyes on the side give you peripheral vision. I'm eating grass, something sneaks up behind me, I can see it moving, I can run away before it gets to me. I can see behind me while I'm eating grass. Eyes on the side. Eyes on the front, that gives you depth perception. Binocular vision. You're 12 feet away, that's too far, I can't jump that far. 6 feet away, delicious, that's lunch. Depth perception. So eyes on the front, they hunt. Those ears facing forward almost look like eyes facing forward. They could actually deceive a predator. They could trick a predator. Not forever, but just long enough to get away. You know, that lion walks right up to you. Hey, bro, seen any antelope around here? No, sir, no, run. You only need a second to get away. You don't need long. This guy right here, look, he lost his horns. Actually, she lost her horns. Aww. Now, what are horns usually used for? What is the purpose of horns? Why would any animal have horns? What'd you say?
Defense.
Defense, sure. Yeah, look at those giant horns. Look at how they face backwards. A lion's not going to come on the front. A lion wants that element of surprise. So if they're going to pounce from the back, those horns facing backwards, they're natural defenses. I'll be honest with you. If a lion's close enough to get a horn, that lion was too close already. The main purpose of horns, they can be used for defense, but the main purpose of horns, does anybody know the main purpose of horns? Antlers. Antlers or horns? Antlers on deer, horns on antelope. Same purpose though. It's usually about the ladies, right? It's always about establishing dominance, right? How about locking horns? Has anybody ever heard the term locking horns? Yeah, you're going to come to a disagreement. You're going to argue. Not necessarily a fight. I have two little brothers. I love them with all my heart. I don't want to hurt them, but I do want to establish dominance, right? They know who's bigger, badder, meaner. We have locked our horns. We have butted our heads. When you lock your horns, you're going to take your horns, you're going to twist them in, and then you're going to push, pull, shove. They're trying to show the other antelope who's bigger, badder, meaner, and stronger. I don't want to hurt you. I just want to establish my dominance. Now, you said something about the ladies. Usually, they're establishing dominance to impress the ladies. But if you are an oryx who comes from the southern deserts of South Africa, well, you're actually going to grow horns to establish dominance to protect for lack of water. You come from a deserty area and you only find a little bit of water. You need that water, so you have some plants, and you got to protect that one little food source for your babies. So there are species of antelope where the males and the females both grow horns, like the oryx. I said that guy right there, and I caught myself. That's not a guy, that's a girl right there. Now she lost both her horns. Right? Now for the guys, that's a sign of weakness. If a guy loses a horn, well, to grow horns, you have to have good nutrients. You have to live in a place that has good water, food, right? To grow, you need the vitamins and the nutrients and the minerals to grow those beautiful horns right there. So if you have beautiful, strong horns, that means you come from a good neighborhood. If you look over there and you got a broken horn, well, that means you live in a bad neighborhood. Either you got in a fight, you made some poor choices, or you just got weak.
You live in the hood.
Anyway, no babies for you.
You hear him, Tina? He said, then you live in the hood.
I implied. We got some more antelope down here. We got the Ugandan cob down over there. We got the a springbok. Springbok are a type of gazelle. Beautiful white bellies, black racing stripes. That is full grown. They look like tiny little babies, but those aren't cute little babies. Those are adults. That's as big as they get. Now, being that big, we've been talking about the lion.
Hey, what's
we've been
up,
talking
baby?
about the lion a lot, right? Now, does a lion hunt alone?
No.
I'm sorry, lions don't hunt.
Yeah, they don't. I was gonna say they don't do
Does a
shit.
lioness hunt alone? What do you call a group of lions? A pride. Is that little tasty morsel right there going to feed a pride of lions? No, so the lioness is not even going to waste her time. Too much time, too much energy wasted on something that's not going to feed the whole family. So little springbok lives
That big
as far
Uzi.
as the lion is concerned.
Uzi.
But what about a cheetah?
We're in San Diego Zoo.
Cheetahs are
We're
a
on
little
the safari.
smaller. Cheetahs live solitary, a little independent. Right there, we like to call those cheetah nuggets. That is a cheetah's favorite meal right there. Not too big, not too small, but just right.
Oh, I can't
Now,
see.
when I keep talking about how animals survive, right? If your number one predator is a cheetah, well, that means you got to be fast, yeah? How fast can a cheetah run?
Shit.
I like that answer. That works for me. Has anybody watch Wildcrafts? No? I've heard numbers about 65, maybe even up to 70 miles an hour. We've clocked them here at the park at 70 miles an hour. So if a cheetah can run 70, the poor little springbok right here, they can't quite run 70, but to get away, what they can do is jump left, jump right. They can do that serpentine move. Whereas the cheetah, every time they want to turn, they have to slow down. They're built good for speed, but only in a straight line and only in short distances. The springbok right here, they can hold 50 miles an hour all day long. They can run it like a marathon, just springing on along. If they can hold it longer and just serpentine enough to get away from the cheetah, that's how they're going to survive.
Oh, they're right here.
If you ever look the springbok up on the internet, they have another cool adaptation. It's kind of hard to see. You really got to get him spooked to do it. This guy right here, if you look at the back, see him flagging his tail right there? When they flag their tail, they're telling you, I'm alert to your presence. Don't waste your time hunting me. Go get Freddy over there if he's not paying attention. But right above that flagging tail, that white patch poofs out.
Oh, I know.
So they call it a marsupial. There's like a little pocket in there. It's not for babies, it's like a marsupial. A marsupial is more like a little pouch that poofs up like a parachute to scare any cheetah that might be chasing you. Super cool looking. Watch it flap around on the internet. You get to see it out here every once in a while, but it's pretty rare. They gotta get some people to it. But down there at the bottom of the hill, I know what you're all looking at. That's right, that's right. You know, I've ever been on a tour and somebody says, hey, what's that?
All right.
I love the giraffe.
Happens with the Nyala all the time. You know, they look at a Nyala and they're like, wow, what is that? I've never seen a Nyala.
Is the dots behind their ears attractive?
No, those are ear identification markers. So the giraffe, every giraffe's pattern is unique to them, like fingerprints are to us. So I can look at a giraffe and I can usually tell you who it is.
Oh, really?
All of the antelope, all of those eland, and all of those springbok, they all look identical. So they get a little ear tag, and then there's usually a notch taken out of their ear, and it creates a combination to give them a number, so we know who's who. I always joke that they're more like stormtroopers. That's that thin 122.
My bad, you guys. My bad.
There we go. We do have a few giraffe down here. That one right there looks like Zinzi. It's kind of hard to tell
like a
when
statue.
she's sitting down. Like I said, they all have unique patterns. So when I find
Yeah, they didn't even move. Look at that
thing
shit.
stand out, Jasira's got this perfect little star. One of them's got a maple. A couple of them have lightning bolts. What we got to do here actually is do a lap around, and then we'll get you closer to the Tower of Giraffe over there eating. But before we do that, next to Zinzi, hiding in the shade, we have some water buck, another type of antelope. Now, I said the oryx, they came from a dry, arid region of South Africa. The water buck, not so dry, not so arid. It's right there in their name, water buck. We find them near the water. So no horns for the ladies right there. The ladies don't need horns because they got plenty of water, plenty of food, plenty of shelter.
Is that the only ones?
What's that?
That's the only ones you have?
Out here, yes. These ones are called a Lipson water buck. If you go over into East Africa, we have the Dafasa water buck. And there's a breeding male over there.
So they stay together.
Yep, they like to hang out together. There's a couple younger ones in there. There's two of them that are just a little smaller than the rest. They're the youngins. They got the cutest little heart-shaped noses.
They'll point different ways to kind of keep a lookout.
Exactly. That alert formation. Yeah, I love it. We're definitely going to get you closer to those giraffe, but as we do the loop, we're going to pass the Cape buffalo. Cape buffalo, right there, is the second most dangerous mammal in all of Africa. Look at this one giving us the stink eye already.
Well,
That's just my face, sir. We call that the resting buffalo face.
I play this in the casino.
That is correct. The most dangerous animal in Africa to humans, the hippopotamus. Number two, the Cape buffalo. Now the hippo, the buffalo, neither one of them want to eat humans, right? They're not attacking you because you're delicious. They're attacking you because they don't like you. They don't trust you. You look like
Gang
a
quality,
predator.
really?
Eyes in the front. You like to hunt. They're gonna protect their babies from the likes of you. They will actually chase down a lion in order to save their babies. I'm gonna say Google at your own risk. You know, one of my favorites, buffalo versus lion. Lions don't always eat, but the buffalo right there. There are a couple videos where the buffalo gets those giant horns right into the thigh of the lion. It does like a little hair toss. Looks like a hair toss, but it's a lion being tossed. There's this crazy one called the Battle of Kruger, right? And there's a baby buffalo. Now what they usually do, right? A lion shows up, they usually circle up. We saw that circle, they're all looking different directions. They circle up, they look different directions, they give the stink eye. Lion lost the element of surprise, you're big, you're bad, you're mean. They usually won't attack.
I get close to the giraffe right now.
A little baby, like this Battle of the Kruger, right? Little baby got lost, didn't make it into the circle, off into the river. Crocodiles fighting for one side, lions are fighting for the other side, and the buffalo comes to save the baby. Baby lives at the end of this video. Isn't that crazy?
Hold on.
Ooh, what do you see up there?
Zebras.
Those zebra right there are called Grevy's zebra, also known as the imperial zebra. If you look real close, you know they're zebra because you see those black and white stripes. But if you're checking your memory banks for zebra and you're thinking, I thought the stripes were fatter, bigger, whiter. They were, right? Think back to Madagascar.
These are
The
clown.
zebra from Madagascar. That is a plains zebra. The plains zebra are definitely more common, the ones that we're more familiar with. Bigger black, bigger white stripes go all the way around the animal, whereas the Grevy zebra, the stripes are thinner. Notice that white belly? They also have a brown muzzle, they have bigger ears, and they are also more critically endangered. So when we talk about allies all around the world, we're working with people all around the world to save these animals. We do the best with our resources. We ask you to do the best with what you can. We do the best with what we can. So allies all around the world, we are working with the Grevy's Zebra Trust. Out there in Africa, one of my favorite organizations, what they're doing is working hands-on with the Grevy zebra. Here, hold on tight. We're going to cross this river right here. It's a river, right? It's the Nile. Don't be in denial. Grevy Zebra Trust, one of the things I love mostly about them is that they are community-led, not government-led. Here, I'm actually going to bring my voice down real quick for a second. We got a quarantine area going on over here. This area, we call this the Boma. It's a Swahili word for safe place. So when we're bringing animals in or we're sending animals away or maybe a procedure needs to be done, there's several reasons why an animal could be moved into a Boma. Today, there's a southern white rhino being moved into South Africa somewhere. So we got to adjust and get acclimated, right? We can't just bring an animal in here and let them go. Everybody freaks out. You got to do a nice slow introduction. They got to get a smell. They got to get to know you a little bit, and then we can introduce them.
He means it the whole.
Here, we're just gonna wait for this forklift here to get by. So those Grevy zebra that we were looking at over there, I was talking about the Grevy Zebra Trust and how it's more of a community-led organization. Here in the United States, we're all based on money a lot of times, and if there's no money in it, most people won't go out of their way to do anything about it. You need the government to come in and say, this is a national park, we're gonna save this land. We need them to come in and say, this is an endangered animal, we're gonna do everything to save this animal. In Africa, they don't have the same thing. If the communities around them don't do anything about it, the government's not gonna do anything either. So organizations like the Grevy Zebra Trust, that is a community-led organization that has gone out into the wild to save the Grevy zebra. They've broken themselves up into different groups. Some of them are working on land-based, some of them are working on data collection, some of them are working on just animal protection. So they've broken into different groups like the warriors. The warriors are the young men that used to be battling with each other over their land and communities, and then instead of fighting each other, they thought, well, hey, maybe we should work together to save the animals that all these people keep coming and wiping out. So the warriors are the young men that got together. There's also the scouts. There's a group of ladies that go out there and just collect data and information. And then there's ambassadors. Grevy Zebra Trust, one of my favorites. You can look them up. The zebras are so 5 minutes ago. Check out the giraffe.
I kind of lost track of where I was when I saw this, but it was up on that, like that hill.
It was. You might have been on the tram when you did that.
I was on the tram. She didn't mention anything, but I saw it on a flat spot on there.
On that cliffside right there. There's Trans-Caspian Uriel and bighorn sheep.
Okay. And they had just put the...
If I see one, I usually tend to point them out, but they're so hard to see.
Well, and they had just put this stuff out here for them, so
Oh yeah.
I got that. But the big black one wasn't here.
Yeah, the big one there. That's Guan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember I said the tree line all nice and flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Guan. He's the taller one. He gets all the best leaves. And that's actually his baby girl right there. Her name's Kura. That's his daughter.
Juan and Cora.
Now, when we do look at Guan, you think to yourself, well, he is a little darker than you would imagine, right? Yeah. Like if I pulled out a bucket of crayons and I was like, hey, let's color some giraffe. What colors would you choose to color a giraffe usually?
A
little browns, little greens, kind of oranges. These are not your common giraffe. These giraffe are called Maasai. Maasai live in the Maasai Mara, this crater in the foothills of Kilimanjaro. Now, because it's a crater, these giraffe aren't leaving, and no other giraffe are coming in. They are their own unique species of giraffe. When I was young and learning about animals, I actually thought there was only one giraffe.